Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? The Raiders are back on track, 2-4, but still some concerns, and we're going to be breaking it all down. The Raiders finally get a W after a couple of tough weeks. We're going to break that all down with Lincoln Q.
Hey, what's up? There's you again.
Hey, there's you.
What's happening? Hey, we're here. We're excited. Raiders got a W. Devin White, please stand up. Oh, he did.
A win is a win is a win. I don't care if it's by 1 or by 21. A win is a win. Take it. Love it. Let's go, Raider Nation Squad Show now.
Raider Nation, it's time. This is the Raiders Squad. Everything Las Vegas Raiders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Death Star in the desert. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Commitment to excellence starts here. The Raiders Squad Show starts now.
Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? Remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. You'll see in the description below the ways that you can connect with us. Also, keep in mind that we're on the audio side, so wherever you find your shows and podcasts, you can find us there as well. And also, just a word from our sponsors as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. And as you can tell, Link and Q both at the same place right now at Q's studio. And
That's how we work things
Exactly.
like that. That's how we work things. We just make it look like that. AI generated. We're fantastic.
Yeah, and there's lots to get into. In the final segment, you'll be able to drop some comments, ask some questions, and Q and Link will be answering them in that final segment. So make sure to keep those comments coming in the chat. Remember, this is an interactive show, and if you're watching this later, you can always hit us up on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, or even drop some comments later on this episode, and we may be able to get to it on another episode. We're going to talk about Russell Wilson being linked to the Raiders. That's going to be coming up. We're going to be giving our performance grades for the defense, O-line, all that good stuff. But guys, we got to start off talking about the Raiders getting a victory after a minute. They're now 2-4. And Link, we'll go with you first. But what was your biggest takeaway from the game?
That they won. That's simple. I mean, after a week of months of losses, they won. They haven't won a game since New England, and there was a gaping wound over this team. It was starting to fall apart. There were rumors I had heard from afar, living in Phoenix, that people were starting to not get along anymore. And this is what happens in a locker room when you suffer, from consistent losses. But they found a way to right the ship. Look, you can take it for what it's worth. Tennessee's not a good team, right? Okay, all right, and I'll be the first one, not the first one to admit it, but I'll be one of those guys that admit it. I'm also here to tell you the Raiders aren't a good team right now. And I hate to say it, but it's true. The offense does not have any type of consistency. When they do, there's something that precludes them, that hurts them, whether it's a turnover or a mishap on a penalty or not getting enough, zip up front to where you can get some yards. So that can hurt you, those types of things. But, when the defense shows up and gets 6 sacks and a couple of to win the turnover battle, good things can happen. Special teams look better. It's still a work in progress. This team is a work in progress, but a win is a win.
A win is a win. And I'll tell you what, from being in the locker room following the game, the players it was that sigh of relief. And, I never believe in a bad win, right? I don't think there's any such thing of it. But I do realize, as Lincoln said, Tennessee is a really bad team. So to me, I was kind of, ho-hum, like it was a win. That's cool. But, it didn't really tell me a whole lot. But I could tell you, after being in that locker room and talking to multiple players, and we talked to a handful of players after the game, just them saying that what we were able to do in practice, the way that we, saw things, drew it up, looked at it on film, and said this is what we were going to do, and to be actually able to go execute it the way that they wanted to, and creating some turnovers, something that they haven't done in a while, getting to the quarterback, something that they haven't done in a while, like all that coming together made them come together even more. And I can tell you, regardless of any of those rumors that are out there, any of the player-only meeting, Max Crosby said that was BS. Landon Roberts says that was BS. He said, man, I don't know what meeting they were in because I'm in every one of them. And that was all stuff that's just internet stuff. So this team is all together. They all have Geno's back, and they all have each other's back. And you can see that camaraderie in the locker room following the game. It was really a good sight to see.
Yeah, and Link, you kind of touched on it too. Like they played the Titans, not a very good team, but the fact is, and Q, you said this, like a win is a win, despite it being whoever it's over. And so this should give them a little bit of momentum heading into the game against their division rivals in the Kansas City Chiefs. But there were a lot of takeaways from this game. Let's start off by talking about this defense, because there was more than one guy that stepped up on this defense. They held the Titans to just 10 points. And on top of that, like their run defense, we've talked about this. You guys have said many times the Raiders defense is built to stop the run. That's exactly what they did, but they made plays on Sunday, and I think they were a big part of why the Raiders got the win. What were your thoughts on how the Raiders played defensively, Q?
Yeah, the defense was the strength of the team, obviously, on Sunday, and they went out there and they set a tone, right? And they were able to get to the quarterback, create that pressure that Patrick Graham was looking for. They have multiple guys be able to stop the run and just make life difficult on Tennessee and confuse Cam Ward, who obviously is a rookie quarterback trying to figure things out, but, really did a good job as far as I'm concerned, containing him, and he's a very athletic dude. So they did what they were supposed to do, and the good thing about that is they showed that what this team could be, and that they didn't have to. And obviously, they're playing Tennessee, so it's a little bit easier, but they didn't have to press and make the offense think that, oh my gosh, we got to go score a touchdown every time because the defense can't stop anybody. They played what they keep calling complementary football. They were able to just kind of stay in their own world where they didn't get too high, didn't get too low. They didn't start pressing. They just went out there and played. But I thought the defense did a hell of a job. Devin White really set the tone. I got to give him a lot of credit for getting to the quarterback, causing a sack and a strip sack, and then they get the ball first and goal. Didn't know if they were going to score, but they did. But it was just, it was one of those things where them being able to go and make that extra move and extra play and getting a strip sack and getting the ball back and getting an interception right before halftime, stopping Tennessee from scoring anything. Like those small things matter in a major way.
When you watch the film on Tennessee, the game, you go back and you watch the first quarter especially. Look how dominating the defense was, how they ran around and how they stopped plays, how they got in the run gaps, how they had good run fits, how they were able to cause pressure on Cam Ward to take him off the field, a lot of 3 and outs and stuff like that. And then you look at the fourth quarter and you see how the defense, after it gets worn down, a lot of those holes that they were taking away in the first quarter are gone, but now they're wide open. And so the defense became a little bit more porous. And that little comeback that the Titans had is what mostly concerns me about the inability of the offense to score touchdowns. Because when you only capitalize on threes, then you keep a team in it. There's still an opportunity. A touchdown could tie up 2 field goals. So my thing is this, is that, and I say that to say this offense, yes, did score some touchdowns yesterday. But once again, just like in the Charger game, the defense was the catalyst. The catalyst with the turnover that put them first down and on the 3-yard line to start to get that sort of touchdown thing going. But like you said, we didn't know if they were going to score, especially the way they came out. It's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
And there's no way. Look, this offensive line has got to play better. It played better yesterday than it did before collectively in the Indianapolis game, but they have to play better because now you're getting to the teeth of your schedule. And if you watch what Kansas City did last night, you better be concerned because with that defensive front and how they're playing, especially in the interior. So they've got a lot of work to do. But again, you're coaching better off of confidence after a win than you are coming back in and say, oh, man, I don't know how we had, a 10-point lead and let that get away in the last minute.
And there's this guy on Tennessee named Simmons. He just reintroduced himself because, boy, he is good. Right? I mean, that dude, that was the game of 98. So you had to watch both 98s, Max and Simmons, and those dudes could go just flat out play. But he was fun to watch. Obviously, it didn't help the Raiders. The Raiders offense didn't like seeing him. But, man, he is a dominant player. So make no mistake about that.
There has been some red zone issues, obviously, this season. But I feel like that first drive, there were so many similarities to the game against the Colts where I was like having PTSD because they went for like 7 minutes and they settled for 3 points. Does that concern you, Q, especially against a Titans team? Like, let's be serious. Like, their defense isn't as good as the Chiefs, and they're meeting the Chiefs next week.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely concerning because it's not the first time it's happened this year.
Right.
They've had 3-4 long, lengthy drives, 10 plays, 11 plays, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 3 points. 3 points aren't going to win you games. Field goals aren't going to win you games. They'll help extend your lead, but they're not going to win you games in the National Football League. It's just, it's really, you're basically defeating yourself. If you take over half the quarter up and you go and have a long sustained drive and you only end up with 3, the other team's like, that's a win for me. That's a win. Now I can get down the field really quickly, go score a touchdown, and boom, I'm already winning. So, yeah, they definitely have to clean that up. That is nothing that is worse than you have that big, long drive. Everything looks like it's going to be good, until it's not, and then you end up with a field goal. So to the Raiders' credit, they were able to get those field goals. A.J. Cole, I think this is a little note that may be kind of overlooked at this stage of the game. A.J. Cole, who had a really bad ankle sprain because he got the punt blocked in Indianapolis, his ankle was swollen, really big swollen after the game against Indy, was out there playing on Sunday. And even after the game, saw him in the locker room, still has a little bit of swell to it. But this guy's the holder too. So it's not only he's the punter, but he's a holder as well. And Lincoln, you got to have that same battery, man. You got to have the long snapper, the holder, the kicker. I mean, you don't want to disrupt that. When you disrupt that and take anybody out of that cog, bad things happen. So A.J. Cole being out there was a big deal.
There were a lot of positives to take, but there's still a lot of work to be done because there's a lot of reps that need it, especially in the red zone. When you're going up against a defense, it's already a condensed area. You have to be spot on. You have to be accurate with your passes. You have to be able to execute the blocking up front. You know, it was good to see Michael Mayer get involved.
Yes,
and the way he did, and the fashion in which he did, because he chipped and then he would leak out and he would be open, and that's something that you need time to get. Like I said, the offensive line is getting better. What we are running into now is we're running into this no more time getting. You got to be better or you're going to lose. And it's just that simple. And you got to find a way to be better collectively. And we saw some good things. Inconsistencies, but we saw some good things. And I think you was to see Trey Tucker come available, to see everyone get involved, more importantly. But the biggest takeaway I have offensively from yesterday's game was the fact that I watched Geno Smith be a little bit more cautious where he wanted to put the ball.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to break down Geno's whole performance in the next segment. But I also wanted to ask you guys, you mentioned Michael Mayer, and, coming into the season, we talked about how he was supposed to have like that season, that year. I feel like he had the game that he wanted to have, played very well, coming off a concussion. Link, what were your thoughts? You kind of mentioned it a little bit there. How big was it for Michael Mayer to have a game like that yesterday?
Huge. Huge. I mean, Chantel Q, I think there were a lot of people who kind of wrote him off with Brock Bowers. I mean, look, you're talking about an all-pro tight end, and you're living in the shadow. That was, Brock Bowers Michael Mayer was supposed to be Brock Bowers the year before when they got him from Notre Dame, and it just didn't happen. It didn't take off as quickly as it did. But I'm so happy for Mike because he's back in it after all the off-field, after injuries and a concussion. Trust me when I tell you, there's no more debilitating injury than concussion. Because you have no idea what you can take, and you don't know if you need to be overly cautious, if I need to be guarded. You can't prevent contact.
Right.
You're playing a game that requires contact. So for him to come back in the way that he did, play as hard as he did, and more importantly, for Geno to find him and make him a viable receiver, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful compliment to the rest of this offensive potential, what they have. But they've got to find him and develop him soon, because we don't know when we'll get Brock Bowers back, if we'll get Brock Bowers back. And that's a big part of their offense.
Yeah, that's huge. When Brock's not out there, obviously the offense is compromised. But having Big Mike back was a big deal. He looked good in the locker room afterwards. He mentioned it when he talked to us. He said, feels good. He mentioned, when Lincoln's talking about the concussions and everything, he said, my head feels good. I mean, he said that a couple times. No one asked him, hey, how's your head feel? But he was like, hey, my head feels fine. Right. He said he was close to playing against Indy, he wasn't able to clear concussion protocol in time. But him being out there was a big factor. The way that he was able to get that chip block, link out, boom, all of a sudden get the ball. And I mean, there's that one catch he had in the middle of the field. I'm sure he probably looked around like, is this a prank?
Exactly.
Is this a prank? Nobody's wait, what's going on here? Well, I'm just going to run there. But, and look, man, I mean, the Raiders 2 years in a row got the best tight end in college football.
True story.
Right. And so Michael Mayer's career has not gotten off to the start that he wanted to. I asked him about that last week, as a matter of fact, because he said he was happy to be back, couldn't wait. And I asked him, I said, does it ever get frustrating? You're in year 3, and every time you think, all right, here we go, about to have an opportunity to get going, something is a setback. And he said, yeah, but it's just how things go. I'm ready to roll, right? I'm not, hanging my head. I'm not holding, drooping my shoulders, just ready to play and keep my head up and go. And so his attitude, his leadership, his, everything is leading to his success. And so hopefully he continues to keep that going together.
Link, you kind of mentioned something like when Brock Bowers is going to be coming back. Have you guys heard anything if it could be longer than after the bye week at all, you or Q?
I haven't heard that. My estimation, my just gut feeling is that he's probably going to come back after the bye. I know that he's working hard to get back, and they don't want to push him. They probably pushed him already too hard early when he first got injured, and It may have slowed him down a little bit, but they're being cautious with him. I would just, again, I'm just assuming he'll come back probably for Jacksonville after the bye week.
I have to believe that there are. If I'm Chip Kelly, I have dreams and aspirations of creating an offense, much like Kansas City did with Travis Kelce regarding Brock Bowers. On the other side, creating an offense much like you see in the Buffalo Bills, the way they run their multiple tight end sets and can be effective with the run and the passing game when you have both Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer and of course your many tight ends. So I see a sort of fusion. I envision a future that looks sort of like that, because they've got to find a way to move Brock Bowers around or move whoever their featured receivers. They can't remain stagnant. The offensive line doesn't give enough time for you to have stagnant receivers to defeat the defender over. And there are more teams that are playing press man against the Raiders because they don't think you have the receiver to challenge them. So without Brock Bowers in there, it makes a big hole that you kind of have to cover up. That's why the running game is important. And that's why Geno Smith, obviously, his attention to detail is even more important, because there are going to be receivers open that people don't take into account, much like that wide open pass that Mayer caught.
Yeah, you mentioned the run game. I think we got to finish off this segment talking about Ashton Jeanty. He's had consecutive back-to-back really good games. Confidence-wise, how good are you guys feeling about Ashton Jeanty? And I mean, there's still moments where the O-line isn't like blocking the best for him, but he's just given it his all, and he hasn't, let the outside noise get into his head or anything like that. How impressed have you guys been with Ashton Jeanty, Q?
He's as advertised. He really is. The dude is very mature. He's a leader. Even when the offense was struggling on Sunday, he kind of pulled them to the side and was like, "Hey, we're not blocking right. We're not doing this right. Let's go. Let's get going." And that's big leadership for a rookie, right? Just to be able to step up and do that. No workload. You saw he got increased, 23 carries, had a couple catches. That's getting into that 25 touches that I'd like to see him in that zone around 25 touches per game. And it's so funny in the locker room afterwards. A reporter asked him, he's like, "Well, on that first drive coming out of the locker room, you touched the ball 9 times. How'd you feel about that workload? Was that too much?" And I kind of looked at the reporter's side eye, because Ashton Jeanty is he's a throwback. Yeah. He's one of those guys that gets better the more touches that he gets, and all those alphas want the ball. So I kind of looked at the reporter sideways, and then afterwards I looked at Ashton. And I said to him, I said, "Is there workload? It's too much for you?" And he was like, "No, of course not." So, he that's what he wants. That's when he gets lathered up going. And that's just how he's built. Again, he's that throwback style where I know everyone doesn't, they have a lot of, running back by committee. He's that guy where he wants to be that workhorse. So the more he can touch the ball, the better things are going to happen for this Raiders offense.
It's not often I get a chance to respect rookies. It really isn't, because I've always had the mindset, especially as an old veteran that I am, mindset, you haven't done anything till you show me something. Till you get on this level and show me something. I can give a damn about what you did in college. So the thing is, when it comes down to Ashton, I'm appreciative of how hard he runs, the desire to get open. I'm most respectful of that this little 5'8" young man throws his shoulder and his helmet up against defensive linemen and linebackers that are rushing or blitzing just to pick up the blitz and give Geno a little bit extra time. He's not the biggest and best at it, but he'll get involved and he'll show that fight. I appreciate him, the fact that he wants to block, he wants to try hard. I just wish he didn't take as many hard shots, especially the time, the swing out pass. I was cringing.
Yeah.
That check down pass, you're going to check down with that to cover 2 corner sitting right there. Right. That's exactly what's going to happen. And you run the risk of losing your guy, and you don't want that, obviously. But as I said, with this running game and I still see the same thing, guys, the same brutal mistakes, lack of communication. Yep. But I do see some light at the end of the tunnel, because yesterday there were a number of plays where I saw, most notably, JPJ point to who they got. Okay, you got him, I got him, we got him. And that's elementary to a lot of people. Yes, it is. But you know what? It's a beginning, because the communication has not been as good as it's been. You see many guys run through, and because of this zone game is the way it is, until these guys get familiar how to play zone blocking, I don't think a lot of these offensive linemen collectively have done zone blocking in college or whatever. There's going to be run-throughs.
Yep.
There's going to be guys shooting the gap, because that's what you got to be aware of when you do zone blocking. Your area blocking, not man blocking, but you have to be aware of that area. We got to clean that up. Got to find a way to block the line of scrimmage. With all this being said, with as bad as the Raiders are, he's still on pace for 1,000 yards.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
I think it was like when he was struggling, like within the first, I don't know, 3 games. I think he was like, he's still like top 10 or something like that. You have like this crazy stat, and it was unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, he was ranked 24th at one stage of the game, but he was 100 yards away from being top 10.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it just kind of put it in perspective. And yeah, he's doing good. He hasn't had multiple big, huge games with big home runs. And, he had the one against Chicago, but I mean, he's doing his job.
Yeah.
Right. And being able to carry the ball, and you saw what he was able to do in the second half. And I know the last drive they had Raheem Mostert, they focused on him, but getting the carries in the second half is what you want him to do. You want it because then you know that you're either in the game, you're winning the game, you're playing what you want to do, and you want to play the way the style that you want to do. The offense has a long ways to go. Like that I said, someone tweeted at me during the game and was like, oh, well, this is a good recipe to win a game. I said, not next week. Not next week. The offense is going to have to be a lot better to beat Kansas City. This is a good recipe right now. That's fine. But they have to understand that that's a good win, and then they got to build off it because they're going to have a lot more work when they go into the belly of the beast in Kansas City.
Yeah, and one focus next week, coming up this Sunday, it's going to be that O-line. We're going to be talking about performance grades from the O-line to the defense to Geno Smith to even Chip Kelly. That's coming up on the next segment. Keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're listening or watching the Raider Squad Show. You know the saying, look good, feel good? The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp but feel stiff. Hot and high maintenance. That's why there's Mizzen & Main. Mizzen & Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they perfected it ever since. So it's like you're wearing athletic wear and you're also looking professional at the same time. That's the best because then you're absolutely comfortable. Right now, Mizzen & Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen spelled MIZZEN and Main MAIN.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen & Main stores in select states. When the opening whistle blows, a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. With over 2,800,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. I'm just a girl. I don't know about any of this stuff. So Supply House is perfect for me because they have all the information, extremely easy to use. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shopping, lower prices, and dedicated support time. Visit supplyhouse.com and sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you like that content, or you like the content on Locked On Raiders, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, we appreciate you making Locked On Raiders or the Raider Squad Show your first listen of the day. Now, coming up later in the show, in the final segment, Q and Link are going to be answering some of your questions. So drop your comments in the chat. And if you're watching this later or listening to it later, you can always hop on our YouTube page and, of course, subscribe. But you can drop some comments there as well. And we may be able to get to them on another episode. So I've been waiting for this segment because I want to get your guys' performance grades. And when I was emailing you guys last night, I was like, this is the segment I'm most excited for because you guys are going to give the real. And it was against the Titans, but there's still so many positives. And we talked about the positives in the first segment. But now we're getting to the performance grades, the O-line. I thought there were some parts during the game where they were absolutely brutal to watch. They weren't blocking. And, on the O-line. Yeah, exactly. So, but we'll go straight to you, Link. What was your grade for the O-line and what did you like? What did you not like?
See, and you got to see mainly because of the win.
Right.
There are parts and all parts that come together for an offensive line. Having, 5 singles that function as one takes time to develop. And of course, we saw with the interruption with Colt Miller going down, and then of course the inconsistent play and And then it's still a work in progress. But I'll give them the better grade than I did the week before,
right?
Because they got the win. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. DJ Glaze is going to have to. I honestly think that Chip Kelly needs to do DJ Glaze a favor by putting Geno under center. Mm-hmm. You expose him on the outside when you have a shotgun, and he has issues with speed, and you're taking more guys away to where you can't even help. Well, JPJ yesterday against an All-Pro and Simmons, you just didn't have the ability, and more importantly, because they're getting on different levels, him and JPJ, that's why they run a lot of stunts in a lot of games. That's why the the pocket breaks down. So that needs to be corrected and cleaned up. But for the most part, let's see. It's a work in progress, but a C. They did good things in the first half and failed in the second.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I mean that's kind of how I look at the whole team. The whole performance is. I mean, they got the win, so that you can't give them a fail.
Right.
I'm not going to give them a D for getting a win. I mean, I think I just give them a C overall. There was things to like. Again, I like the fact that the defense made plays. They needed to make plays. They had to keep this team in the game because the offense wasn't clicking on all cylinders, clearly, right? Geno Smith didn't have a completion over 10 yards until the very end of the game. So, I mean, that was just, it's one of those things. It was a slow grind, but for the defense to be able to, play better and special teams to be complimentary, and that's been a Achilles heel of the Raiders as well. So I think just overall, the team probably got a C, and I'm sure that they understand that. And like we talked to Landon Roberts last night, he said, hey, look, I'll walk out of here with a W. I'll take it. I'll get back to crunching the film tomorrow. We'll start working on Kansas City. But, to walk out of here with a W is a lot better to walk out of here with an L. And he referenced the team that he was on, that Miami Dolphins team that started out 1-7, and then they went on a run that I think they won like 7 in a row. I think the next year they ended up making the playoffs. But it's just like one of those things where he's like, it's hard to win in the NFL. And these are, yes, we didn't start out right. We didn't start out the way that we wanted to, but we still have a chance to turn things around. Regardless of how the season plays out, they have an opportunity to turn things around. It's just one game at a time. You can't make up being, 1-4. You can't win 3 games at once. So you got to take them as they come. They have a big task in front of them this week. It's going to be a lot harder than Tennessee, but they know what they could do. And they've seen it. It's like I say it all the time with basketball. All you got to do is see the ball go through the hoop every once in a while.
I've watched a lot of football. I have not seen a lot of games where Geno Smith was quarterback, but I had seen some games, most notably in Seattle. Yesterday was the first time that I watched Geno Smith play guarded. Mm-hmm. And look, I can't blame him. He's shell-shocked because there's a point in when I watch his reads, when I watch his head from my vantage point, because I can't see his eyes from where I'm standing or sitting. I watch him survey and his first read's gone, and if he doesn't absolutely believe in that first read, he holds on the ball just a slight bit longer, and I'm going to try to wait for something to come open, but I'm not going to take that risk. I'm not going to take that chance. What we are now seeing are defenses that come against play against the Raiders like, you know what? I'm going to challenge you to throw it long.
Yep.
I don't believe you're going to throw it long because I don't believe that you have a receiver that can defeat press man-on-man coverage and get that separation against my best corner. I don't think you have that. And so you're not going to try it. More importantly, for the offensive standpoint, because Geno is hindered, because Geno is shell-shocked, playing guarded, can't really have a lot of those throws where it's like, okay, I know he's going to come open there. Let me get it there.
Right.
That's what an accurate quarterback in the NFL needs to do in order to be successful. If you play guarded, you play stressed, you throw checkdowns to a cover 2 running back who's with the cover 2 corner out there, normally gets almost got his waist taken away from him. Those things happen, or you throw an interception when you're on your back leg being hit. So there are a lot of works in progress, and there were a lot of people who are critical of Geno Smith, especially with the interceptions, and I understand. But if I'm explaining the point, if Q has no protection, how do you expect him to go out there and do his job? Yeah. If I'm running for my life, if I'm looking down at the rush, or I see this big number 98 or whomever is coming at me, and they're going to hit me or they're around my legs, how am I going to do my job? If I'm worried about a turnover, how am I going to do my job? These are all the stresses that are built into Geno Smith going forward. I mean, coming up to this point and going forward, it's going to take a team effort to get him to relax and open up to his full potential.
And the other thing about what Geno's doing, and you saw it even on some of the completions on the little short dump offs, he's taking a second longer to get the ball there.
Yep.
When the receiver's open, boom, the ball's got to be on him. Instead, it's like, all right, the receiver's open. Okay, now I
Is
get
it
on the
still
ball.
open? Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's like double checking. It's like looking in, it's like
Just
looking
want to
over.
make sure.
You can look in your rearview mirror to see if you got a car next to you, but then you also look over your
Yeah,
shoulder.
exactly.
Right. That's what he's doing. He's looking in the mirror and then looking over his shoulder. Right. You just got to go. And so it's just the slight hesitation is stopping some of these plays from going 8 yards, could be 18, 20 yards, but they're not getting the ball quick enough. So there's just some things that, and I think Lincoln said it perfectly. He's playing guarded right now. Right?
I scouted the Kansas City Chiefs last night against the Detroit Lions. I
Ooh,
was interested to see how, Detroit's great offensive line was going to do against this defense. Kansas City kicked their ass.
Yep.
I mean, left and right. They made them look stupid. I mean, and so I'm not saying that for the Raiders to be. This is something that you have to look forward to, or you're going to be seeing, because the Raiders play the Chiefs notoriously well in Kansas City. That's not an issue. I mean, the fact is that if they start off fast, they can compete. We've seen them do it before.
Yeah.
We've seen them do it with Aiden O'Connor at quarterback. So with the possibility of Geno Smith or an upgrade, if that's what you think can happen. But the thing is that you have to wake up. You have to see it, and this is better coming off of a win than a loss. The Raiders, if they don't get their stuff together, Geno's is going to be stressed all season. He might not make it, because I'm telling you, in the second half, there were a couple hits. He walked very gingerly out to the sideline afterwards. Yeah. Starting to catch up, and he's not a spring chicken.
And he don't know how to slide, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's
he proved he don't know how to slide.
You did not play baseball.
That dude took, he made a hole in Allegiance grass. I was like, what was that? That's how you injure yourself. I mean, he went straight down with his knee. I was like, there was no slide there. And you saw how he got up, and he was limping. He wasn't looking good. So yeah, he's got to get some bases out there and practice stealing some bases or something. Because his sliding skills are not there.
Yeah, he's a little bit older too, right? So those hits are gonna feel a little bit different, because Geno's in his mid-30s. I will say this though: what were your guys' performance grade for a guy like Geno? Because you mentioned it, like he wasn't getting a lot of protection, especially early in the game, and he did kind of become a game manager within this game. Like he was being,
that's all he was the whole game.
I'm fine with that.
Yep.
I'm fine with that. That one interception, that hiccup is when you said, "Oh, here we go. Is this the start?"
That was bad all around.
No doubt about it.
Bad protection, bad decision, bad pass, turns into bad results for the Raiders. It was all bad.
Yeah, Geno's going to get a D for me. I mean, actually, I'll be a little bit more generous. He'll get a C because you got the win. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you that. And you got the win, and I don't fault him a lot of times for a lot of the turnovers. I think because he's stressed. I can only imagine. I couldn't imagine being a quarterback and under the amount of duress that he's had to play under, the constant duress. Doesn't matter who they're playing again. They've been under duress. And so I can't fault him for that, being a little shell-shocked.
Right. Yeah. No, he definitely gets a C. Again, if you get a win, I mean, I'm not going to give you a D or an F, but there's obviously a lot of ground he needs to make up. There's a lot of things he needs to do better. He needs improvement. And, the problem is that I think that he hears that too. And he's trying to make his next throw, at least he was until this game, trying to make his next throw prove to everyone, oh, see, I am the guy. See, I can be the guy. See, I can make those passes, where he doesn't have to do that. Being a game manager is okay. Getting the ball to the guy who's open or is breaking open is okay. Having a long, sustained drive is okay. Getting into the end zone is what they need to do, right? They just get bogged down, and for one reason or the other, right, play calling, his poor play, his poor protection, whatever it is, penalties, something puts them behind the 8 ball, and this team is just not good enough to be able to overcome those mistakes. So it's a work in progress. It sucks to say that, especially since now they're going to be going into week 7, but it is what it is. You're 2-4. That's who you are, and you just got to keep building on that. But it's funny to hear everyone that's complaining, well, they only beat a 1-4 team. Guess what, Jack? They were 1-4 going into the game too, right? So the Tennessee Titans were looking at the Raiders like, they ain't no good. And the Raiders were looking at the Titans like, they ain't no good. Someone's got to get a dub. So yeah, regardless of who they beat, they were just as bad. They were just as bad as Tennessee, right? Tennessee proved to be a little bit worse in the game, and they've obviously got a lot of room to still try to grow. But I mean, these were two teams that aren't very good, and they're trying to both find their ways. And luckily for the Raiders, they did find their way in that game.
What I'm most perplexed about is how it seems at times this season where the Raiders offense can come out and click like a well-oiled machine, not have a hiccup between the 20s, basically, because they have their troubles in the red zone. And then other times seem that they can't, even if they go back to that same play that worked before, it doesn't work.
Yep.
I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm trying to understand that dynamic. I understand teams make adjustments. I get that. But at the same point, there should be an ebb and flow to the offense once you get things going. There shouldn't be a reason why you have a 19 or a 23 play drive that ends with a field goal. Hell no.
Right.
But there also shouldn't be a reason why you get first down and goal on the 3-yard lines and you're trying to do a tackle eligible. Hell no. But that's just me. Okay, that's just me. Sorry, I had to get my dig.
No. I'm glad you. It took us 35 minutes to get to it, but I'm glad you said
so
that.
there are times like that where you just don't see the over confident offense that walks down the field.
When you get to the 2-yard line, Lincoln, they should have just blasted that bad boy in.
The fact that you bring in 2 extra offensive linemen,
right,
and that's the play you go
to.
Right.
I hated it. I hated it. And Genty was playing so well at that point where it's like, just give him the ball, feed him the rock. And I felt like they kind of went away from that as well, like in the second quarter. And then I was like, what's going on here? Like, they weren't able to stop Genty in that first quarter. So they don't have
any staple runs.
No,
there's no staple runs.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, it seemed they was going to be coming forward for the left side to be that, to have, JPJ, that Mauler in the middle and the backside cutting the defense in half. Then when Cole Miller goes down, okay, now we're playing with Stone. Okay, we got to learn each other all over again. Doesn't have the same pack or punch that it once did, and you're still trying to figure it out. When you get down the short yardage and goal line, I've always been a part of offenses that had staple runs.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to call this.
Right.
If you stop it, okay, we'll go back to drawing board, figure it out. But we're going to call this 14 blast, and you have the 46 power.
There you go.
These are our staple plays. Okay, we're running it. We're going to start here. We're going to stop that. But to open up first down and goal after a big turnover, the crowd is into it.
Mm-hmm.
What better way that you could think about riling up your offensive line than on the heels of that turnover, the crowd is still into. We're at home.
Mm-hmm.
Run that damn ball.
Yep.
Run it.
Yep.
Run it right here and get in that end zone. You don't see that. Oh, well, we're going to do a tackle eligible. So backup guard who hasn't played that much.
You guys, that brings me to the question though, about Chip Kelly. And we talked about how creative he is, right? That was one of his creative plays, but we weren't feeling it. I don't think anybody else was feeling it, but it was very creative. And we talked about performance grades, and I think Chip Kelly, I mean, not to be witty here, but he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got a lot to prove, right? Because of his stints in the NFL previously. Because what you do in college is what you do in college, but what you do in the NFL is totally different. What are your thoughts on Chip Kelly and how he's been able to, just run this offense the way that he wants? Have you guys been impressed so far? And what are your real thoughts about that, Q?
No, it's not where I expected it to be. I thought that Chip Kelly, with his, all the different offenses that he's taken parts of and trying to put it all together in his extensive playbook, I thought, okay, this is going to be very creative. It's not going to be very predictable. We're not going to be able to sit on the couch and know exactly what play is coming, when it's coming. But it hasn't been that yet. It hasn't evolved. Obviously, losing Brock Bowers is a big deal, but that's on him to be able to make adjustments. And so Chip has not gotten into the rhythm that I would like to see from a play calling point of view. That play that he threw to Kappa, tried to get the ball to Kappa, that was overthinking things. That was trying to be too cute.
Yep.
And there's been multiple times that we could say, oh, okay, you tried to outthink the room. You tried to think, oh, they'll never think of this. Yeah, you know why they never think of this? Because nobody does it. You shouldn't do that. Right? That doesn't make any sense. Even running Genty right behind Stone after Colton Miller goes down in the Bears game, right? It was like, no, that's the left tackle just now coming in basically off the street. Right, he hasn't got any kind of lather going, and now you're going to go right towards him, follow behind him, and he gets the wrong communication. DP gets the wrong communication. They're going different directions. Like there's inconsistencies with this Raiders offense, and that's with Chip Kelly as well. So you heard Pete Carroll kind of call him out without actually calling him out in the presser last week, and when talking about he ain't calling the plays. Geno's not calling the plays, so obviously he wants more. It's all a rhythm thing for everybody. All this is new. Like, it's not the only people that this is not new for is the fan base. The fan base is here every single year, but everything that the Raiders are doing right now is all new. New head coach, new play caller, new quarterback, new weapons, new offensive linemen. Everything is new. So it's all a work in progress, and nobody wants to be patient because, Raider Nation has been patient for 20 plus years, and it hasn't paid off yet.
Hugh, who's the head coach for the Rams?
Oh, Sean McVay.
Okay. So I use Sean McVay as an example because when the Rams had their Super Bowl run, they used a lot of 12 personnel. And in their offense, they wanted to establish a run, but they also used a lot of naked boots, rollouts, and Matthew Stafford. Now, I know Geno Smith is more athletic than Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
And so I came into the season thinking that you're going to run some sort of offense like that.
Yep.
Because and that helps with the zone run game. That's exactly what the zone run game is based off of. They've tried that. The Raiders have tried that to some extent with these naked boots. Sometimes there's an unblocked man off the open edge that's making a beeline for the quarterback. That just shows me they don't respect the damn run.
Right.
So you can't establish one without the other. I can appreciate creativity, but and being creative when you talk about your personnel, you talk about the scheme that you can run effectively with your personnel. You see something that works, and you try to mark off of that. If you follow Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs over their run, they took their very main staple plays and just did a little twitch. Instead of Q running to the right, hey, Q, run to the left. It's the same play. That's the only thing we do. That's when you talk about creativity. But it has to be executed in a way to where it can work. Because this offensive line has such inconsistencies, even when you try to run a play action, you're not going to run the ball. You ain't run the ball successfully all day. So until you establish one, you can't establish the other. And so I'm saying that this has been a work up in progress. Where they are right now, much to Q's points with the injuries, they're inconsistent. They're not good at any way for beating good teams, but they can challenge a bad team. They should have beat the Bears. So I mean, they should have been in a better record. I give Chip Kelly a C. I give him a C. You got the win. Not in love with it, and I did not love that goal line play. You got the win. We'll take that home. A work in progress. But it's going to be hard for me to give out A's. I'm just telling the people I had at home. Yep. I grade on a curve. You don't want me. You do not want me as a professor because I was asking an impossible question and you will not be able to answer. So you don't want me to give you a grade. Just be happy with what you got and take it a complete or an incomplete class.
All I thought of, Chantel, right now when he said that, I thought of that scene in Friday when they go to the ice cream man, Big Worm, and try to get, and then he's my money. I hate him.
What a big worm! Yeah.
All I can think of is somebody looking at their test and Lincoln gave him a D. I hate him, man. He's such a mean professor.
Yeah. And that little girl that said that, I think that was Megan Good that said, I hate him. Yeah. That was Megan Good. Yeah. That's
there you go.
Classic movie right there. By the way, guys, coming up at the next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about a quarterback that has been linked to the Raiders. And then in the final segment, please get your questions and comments in for Link and Cube because they will be answering some of them. And remember, if you're watching or listening to this later, you can always drop some comments later or hit us up on Twitter. We'll be able to get some of your comments as well through that, or, if you're watching here on YouTube. So keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're listening or watching the Raider Squad Show. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is, well, there's a lot of moments because Devin White looked like Devin White from Tampa Bay, but he was wearing silver and black. He had 9 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception. He was absolutely everywhere, and that's what we wanted to see from Devin White when he signed with the silver and black. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there is more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. And also in the final segment, keep your questions and comments coming because Link and Q will be able to answer that later in that final segment. Guys, this is going to be a little bit of a quick segment. I think I know how it's going to go here. But as you know, throughout the season, there are so many rumors that come about, especially when there's big names that are on the possible trade block. One of those guys is Russell Wilson, quarterback of the New York Giants. Of course, we've seen Jackson Dart move into QB1. Russell Wilson is a name that people are saying could possibly be moved. Now, this is a guy that's a veteran. He's won a Super Bowl. He also has that, history with Pete Carroll as a Seahawk. Do you think there's a possibility that the Raiders go and make a move for a guy like Russell Wilson? Or is this just, another article that's been put out to just make some noise? Because as you know, Geno didn't play his best game, but he got the win. And you guys gave him a C, and there's still, some potential there. But would you go and make the move for Russell Wilson? Link, you're smiling, so I'm going to go to you first.
Hell no. Let Sierra and her cookies stay in New York or wherever the hell they are right now.
Right. Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing is that it's too much of a distraction for this locker room. This locker room is still very, very young, and it's one that you can steer one way or the other to where you can lose the locker room or you can gain it. It's just too risky of a move. I don't like it.
No, it doesn't make any sense. If they wanted Russ, they could already had him.
Yeah.
Right. Reality is Geno Smith is their quarterback. Is he the quarterback of the future? Obviously not. Right. He's a guy that is right now. He may be around next year as well. But I mean, at the same time, the Raiders at some point have to go out and get their franchise quarterback. They needed to be all day on Saturday scouting college football. They are probably watching Oregon and Indiana. They are probably watching Alabama. They're probably watching Oklahoma. They need to watch all these games and scout their quarterback. They have to identify their guy. Just like there's belief in New York right now with the Giants, with Jackson Dart. He's not been playing great, but they've won 2 out of 3 games. And they feel good about the direction that they have with Cam Scatterboo, their running back, and their young quarterback. They believe they have something. The Raiders at some point need to believe that they have something too. Right? Even though the Raiders are sitting there at 2-4, if they were doing that with a young quarterback that they thought was their franchise quarterback and he was just getting acclimated to the NFL, Raider Nation wouldn't be as upset. But you get a 35-year-old veteran who you went and traded for, you brought in, you gave him a contract extension, you expect more. Your expectations go from here to here once you go out and make the extra move to identify that's our guy. We're going to go and ride with this guy. He's got history with Pete Carroll. Oh, this is going to be great. He's got better weapons than he had in Seattle, and here you go. It's not working. It hasn't got off the ground the way that they wanted to. So that's why Raider Nation is upset. Tennessee, they're not good, but they do believe they have their quarterback. And so they're going to live with some of the bumps and bruises that are going to come along the way with trying to get Cam more developed. They need a lot more talent around him, but they also see, hey, man, this guy, he flashes at times to be that guy. Now they just got to find a way to make him consistent. So once you get your guy, it's a lot better to be able to build that team around that dude.
I had a quick conversation with Willie Gault, legendary wide receiver. Hey. Name drop. I'll pick it up later. Anyways, Willie has said once the Raiders had that substantial lead in the game that, this might be a good chance for get Kenny Pickett in or to have explored the other opportunities of quarterback. And I looked at Willie, I said, no, because you send the wrong message.
Mm-hmm.
You send the wrong message. Even if they find a way to win this game, and it was still early, if the Raiders find a way to win this game, you don't come back behind and say, okay, we're going to start this other guy or we're going to play this other guy.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. Look, backup quarterbacks don't get a lot of reps during practice. Starters take the most. Backup quarterbacks usually do scout team. So he does not necessarily say he's ready for the offense. You don't make the change now, in my opinion,
right.
Especially the fact that you needed to get a win. You get a win, let it settle, you see how it goes. If you're going to make a change, you explore possibly after the Kansas City game, the possibility, don't necessarily go with it, but a distraction like Russell Wilson, not good for the locker room at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and I agree with you guys. And also, there was a comment in the chat, so I apologize if I couldn't find the comment, but someone was like, if Geno wins against Kansas City on Sunday, all will be forgiven. And so that's the thing. If Geno plays well, I think people will kind of forget everything that has happened up until this point. Because let's keep in mind, if the Raiders win that game against the Bears, they're sitting at 3-3.
Right.
That's a different team. That sounds different than 2-4, which is crazy. Right.
Yep.
And that's a game that they could have won. And of course, there were, interceptions thrown. But nonetheless, I think Russell Wilson would be a bad idea.
Oh, that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. That's all that is a website that probably doesn't have their names attached to anything, just trying to get someone to click on it because they know how passionate Raider Nation is. So you see something Raider related, they're going to click on it.
Let me just add a little tidbit. If the Raiders find a way to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, it doesn't matter. Everybody's going in the Hall of Fame. It hasn't happened.
The Raiders beating Kansas City in Kansas City got Antonio Pierce a head coaching job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Raider Nation is still holding on to Aiden O'Connell as the end-all be-all, even though in that game he didn't complete a pass after the first quarter. I mean, so look, it's any given Sunday. As much as right now on paper I could look at it and say, Raiders, Chiefs, yeah, I think Kansas City is going to win this one. You just never know until they get in these games. I mean, hell, Arizona damn near beat who did they play? Indy? Yeah, and they didn't even have their starting quarterback, right? I mean, it's just like it's so wild in the NFL how it goes week to week where you think you have an idea of who's going to win. Like Dallas, I had here, Dallas beating Carolina. They had no business losing to the Panthers, but they did, right? I mean, it's just so wild how things are. So, yeah, they could go into the belly of the beast. They could find a way to get a W, just like they did in 2023. It was basically all defense, right? They had they scored 14 points defensively in about 6 seconds. So, I mean, it could definitely happen. It's not expected, but, and then everyone will be hey, man, Geno's the guy. Oh, hey, Pete Carroll, he knows exactly what he's doing. Hey, the Raiders are going into the bye week on a high note. Like, all these things are possibilities, and every one of those players that we talked to last night in the locker room all have said the same thing. Yes, it's a big, tall task in front of us. Division opponent. It's going to be hard. We're going to start working on it tomorrow.
Yeah, and we'll see how that all goes down on Sunday. Later on in the week, we are going to be doing that preview show. But coming up in the next segment, get your comments and questions in because Lincoln Q will be answering them. Keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're watching or listening to the Raider Squad Show. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The one thing I love about FanDuel is when you win money, it goes straight to your account right away. You don't have to wait like a couple of hours to get it. It is absolutely instant. And I'm not going to lie, betting $5, hitting that slip and getting $300 in bonus bets, that's an absolute win. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. You can see the description below the ways that you can connect with us. And this is a segment that we've all been waiting for. Questions with Lincoln Q, and let's not keep them, too personal here. So we're going to start off.
Whoa! Don't judge me. I was young. I needed the money.
Okay, we're going to move on from that.
I don't know what's out there, but I'm just saying.
It was only one time in college, and everybody was doing it.
I don't think I want to know about that. So let's change the subject there. This one came to me on Twitter yesterday. It was from Raider Vic, and he said, can you ask the guys to talk about the quarterback coach and run coordinator? What are their duties? And does Chip Kelly call 100% of the game, or is Pete in his ear? So a two-part question. I'll let you go first, Q, if you have any info on that.
I mean, Chip is the OC. Chip's the guy calling the game. Pete's the big CEO, right? He's the CEO. He obviously has his influences, but Chip is calling the game. Greg Olsen is a really good quarterback coach. He's really good at that. There's a reason why he's still around the league doing his thing, and he's been with many different coaches, from Sean McVay, John Gruden, obviously, been back. He's with Pete Carroll. I mean, he's been around, and he's a really good quarterback coach. Of course, the rest of the game and the rest of the coaching staff is still kind of a work in progress, but a lot of skins on the wall in that coaching staff right now.
I believe that Chip Kelly is still the head man in charge, but I want to say that the Shanahan's son, Brendan, is part of the run game coordination. I want to say that. I don't know for sure because I still think they were trying to figure out if they were going to do zone or man scheme. So when I was at the training camp with the Raiders and there's also mini camps, and I overheard the coaches talking about it, I see them still trying to put it together. I think that's a collective effort as far as the run game is concerned. I think Chip Kelly oversees the passing game, so I think that's how that dynamic goes. And Pete Carroll obviously is the big man in charge.
Let's go over to Brian. Hey, Lincoln, why is the O-line struggling 6 weeks into the season? Is that just continuity?
Continuity, without a doubt. Continuity, and the fact that the guys got to play. I will give Coach Carroll some credit, the fact that he did play some of his guys. He didn't play them all together, which I would have liked, but it is what it is. He did play some of his guys, and so you see them a little bit more cohesive than, say, other teams that did not play in the preseason at all. And regardless, that's why you see, in all honesty, when they're the first 6 weeks, if you look at the injury report for most teams, that's why you see those injuries. Those guys didn't play in preseason. Those guys didn't get that callus and stuff like that. And that's when it's starting to affect them now. But as far as the offensive line not playing well, you've had substitutions, you've had mismatch with injuries, put in different combinations, no cohesiveness, no consistency whatsoever. And when you've seen flashes like it, it's unfortunate that it's something stupid like a penalty or a sack or some sort of misfortune or a turnover that takes that rhythm. That takes you out of that rhythm, because all of those are what we call rhythm stoppers. Penalties, obviously turnovers is a rhythm stopper, but penalties and miscues all slow down the rhythm once you get that lather going and you're ready to go out there. Hey, let's do it again. We're going to run right. We're going to run left. We're going to run up the middle. We're going to run up everywhere. Stop it.
All right, let's go over to Devin Smith. How come there's teams that are getting production from 3rd and 4th round draft picks, but we aren't? I thought this draft class was supposed to produce.
Well, who are you referring to? Who's not producing?
I mean, they've got Besh is getting more reps. Thornton was thrown into the mix immediately. He obviously took a step back yesterday. I didn't really see him out there.
Then he wasn't out
Did
there.
he get benched? Did he get benched?
I think so.
So
I didn't see him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I didn't see him.
I thought he was out there on the play that they got into the end zone after after the touch or after the fumble. I thought he was in there. So I thought I saw him out there celebrating. So I can't imagine that he ran onto the field to celebrate.
Genty ran?
I think so.
Really?
I don't know.
Okay.
But because we were talking about it in the press box, I was like, man, have you seen him out there at all? And I think that we had said that we maybe have seen him once or twice or whatever. But he wasn't out there like what he's had so far this season. So if he got benched, whatever you want to call it, he didn't play. Let's put it like that.
I often go back to the conversations we've had throughout the season, and I'm still surprised at it. I think yesterday the Raiders had 56 total offensive plays.
Yeah. The
week before they had 52. I can't remember what the week before that was. And I say that to say this. Everyone is clamoring for, Ashton Genty to get the ball, and even if we say that Ashton gets the ball 25 times, if you only can run 52 plays, what else does that leave you? You see, There's not a whole lot out there for everyone else to be able to touch it. And when you talk about, third and fourth round draft choices being a big part of this offense or being part of their team, it depends on where they fit in, and it depends on the scheme. You got to remember, this team is still brand new.
Mm-hmm.
They're brand new. The coaches are learning their players. Players are learning coaches and scheme and everything. They're brand new. The only thing that's been consistent is Patrick Graham's defense. And you see how you've had other players that have come into the spotlight. You saw the fact that the defensive line had a tremendous day. This defense hadn't performed like this since 2002. Hey, I was playing back then. Anyways, 6 sacks, 3 turnovers. I mean, it was a great day. You don't see that all the time. So you're getting production. It might not be that awesome eye-catching, announcement production, but you're getting production. It's just not a good team trying to find its way.
Yeah, and that was the last time the Raiders had a playoff victory as well. When you were playing. From JM, I'm surprised that Geno seemed so sluggish in the pocket. I thought he was going to be more mobile. This is something that I've actually thought of as well, because I thought that was one of the big factors of why Geno could be so dynamic in this offense, was because he is a mobile quarterback, but he hasn't really, we haven't really seen him use his legs as much as I thought we would. What are your guys' thoughts on that? We'll go with you first, Q.
Yeah, I just think that he needs to use his legs more. He has the ability. We've seen it. He just isn't doing it. And then I'm not too sure why. And maybe it's part of him being shell-shocked of everything that's going on. But, we saw him against Chicago, right? He had times to run, and he took off and did it. And he looked really good. He needs to implement that into the game as well. I think that should be part of his attack, and it'll make defenses play him a little bit differently as well, knowing that that's a threat. He's not going to ever be mistaken for Lamar. He's not Jaden Daniels. He's not that guy that's going to just run around the yard and pick up a ton of yards, but he can extend drives. He can pick up 3rd and 8. He could, whatever. If there's some green grass, he can go get it. I would like to see him use his legs a little bit more.
I've often heard, I don't regard Geno Smith as a mobile quarterback. I don't think that he's a statue right there. I don't think he's Aiden O'Connell or former Peyton Manning or anything like that, but I don't necessarily regard him as mobile. I'm not of the mindset where he should use his legs really more, because we don't have a backup. And I'm worried about if he takes a hit and he goes down, who's quarterbacking his team? I'm worried about that aspect. So I don't mind you try to find a way to keep him in the pocket or keep him in inside and without that venturing out too much, because I don't want to run that risk. I do applaud what Q was talking about in the Bear game. If there's an obvious hole that opens up in front of you and it's man coverage, you take what the defense gives you. But because, like Q mentioned again, he doesn't know how to slide, I'm cringing. I'm like, God, no, dude. Anyways,
yeah.
So I'm a little bit of mixed feelings about how immobile he is, and then versus mobility.
Let's end off with Darth Jader, a good friend of the show who often joins us on the squad show. He says, unpopular opinion, I somehow still believe Geno can be better this year. What is wrong with me? That's kind of a question I want to pose to you guys. Do you think we can possibly see Geno get better? Because I think he looked better yesterday, to be honest with you. He was being a little bit more cautious, but he looked a lot better. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think he can, for sure. I think he's a good quarterback. That's why I had some belief in this offense, and I thought it was going to be the strength of the team coming into the season, because he is an accurate quarterback. I'm very surprised that he's at 10 interceptions already and through 6 games. I really am. But it is what it is. That's what he put on his resume for this year, and it's unfortunate. Yeah. I think he could play at a high level. Not saying that he's going to be, some franchise MVP type quarterback. I'm not saying that at all. but he's the guy who can give you competent quarterback play. It's just got to be better. He's got to get his confidence up. He's got to shake whatever funk he's in right now. He's got to shake that off and just get back at it and understand. One thing that bothers me, and I saw it a lot yesterday, I kept pointing it out, when he decides where he's going to throw it, it's like he rocks back on his back foot, and then he lets it go. When he rocks back, that's when defenders break on the ball. As soon as they see him rock back, here it comes. And then that's when they go and they make a break. And that's when he's been getting picked off multiple times. And a couple times it almost happened yesterday.
Good point. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. Okay, so here's my thing.
Q knows ball.
Q knows ball.
my man, 50 grand. No, here's the thing. Yes, in my opinion, Geno did play guard it yesterday. But if that turns around to where he's not turning over the football as often, I'll take it. Mm-hmm. He only had one interception. I'll take it. It is what it is. If the defense can play like that and Geno can manage a game, I'll take it. I don't like those words, managing a game for the quarterback, but I'll take it. I don't want you to cost the game. I don't want you to throw it to the other team. And I think Tim Brown said it best yesterday when I talked to him. He was like, Geno needs to make sure that he's throwing to the jerseys that we're wearing, not right. You know, I mean, it's an obvious thing that has to happen for Geno to get better. I think he can be good. I think the season can be somewhat rectifiable in a way where you get some wins. And I'm not saying they're going to go to Super Bowl,
right?
But I know this for a fact. When the Raiders made the choice they did back in April to get Ashton Jeanty, they said our quarterback of the future is out there waiting for us. We just don't know who it is. We're not going to take a chance right now. We want this young man. We're going to build. So he's here for a little bit. Geno's not going anywhere for a little bit of time.
You know, the thing about it is last year he had 20 touchdowns and 15 interceptions in Seattle. And the question I always had was, well, why did he have the 15 interceptions? That's way too many. He needs to have closer to 10. Well, he's already at 10 through 6 games. So that's obviously he's on pace to shatter what he had last year, which is not acceptable. And everyone told me in Seattle, well, it's because he felt like he had to do everything. It was all on him. He didn't have an offensive line that was protective, so he started forcing the ball. He started thinking that every throw he had to make was a hero ball. Well, guess what? Through 6 games, that's what it's looked like so far, that he feels like he has to do everything. He's got to get out of that mindset. He's got to play within the team structure, be effective with the ball, and don't think that every throw he makes has to be the touchdown pass or the home run pass, or, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to get reckless saying, oh, it's all about me and it's not no one else. He's got other weapons on the team. He's got to be effective with it. That's the big problem, and I'm seeing him trend to that, what he did last year in Seattle, and that's not okay.
Yeah, and we'll see if he's going to be efficient against the Chiefs on Sunday. On our next episode, we will be breaking down and previewing that whole entire game for the Raiders and the Chiefs. That's coming up on our next episode. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching or listening to this later, we are going to be having this segment again on the next show. So if you got any comments or questions for Link and Q, you can always drop them in the chat. Thanks so much for rocking out with this, Raider Nation. We'll be back later in the week.
Deuces.